We purchased that 51 acres for the lease.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, so I think eventually they'll maybe.
Okay, that's on?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the meeting, Williamson County Board of Commissioners, February 8th, 2023, and it's 1:16 p.m. Roll call, please.
Matt Hanson,
Present.
Jim Marlowe,
Present.
Jim Razor,
Present.
Today's meeting is about ARPA interviews. We'll get to that in just a second. We moved our public comment up to the top of our meeting. So if there's anybody that would like to make a public comment, I'll do the time to do it. Moving on, old business. Does anyone have any old business?
The only thing is we talked about, RFQ for.
Oh, okay. Okay, RFQ for architect. So Brett had sent us all out a proposed letter. Did you guys have a chance to read that? Okay. You're comfortable with that? We can go ahead and send that out. I don't know if that needs a vote on that because we've already asked for it.
So, I think.
Right. Any other old business? Okay, new business. ARPA interviews. Guys, what could you tell us about your ARPA interview?
Yeah, you're first.
Who is it? Yeah.
First is the first one.
Which is the first one?
It's the
Well,
one that's right in
she's
your
got-
right hand.
Hurst. I don't think, is this Hurst was first?
Right here.
Oh, okay, good. Okay.
I had them all in order.
Hello. Could you tell us about your application?
Sure. First of all, my name is Tom Gobstruck. I'm the fire chief for the Hearst Fire Department. The application that we submitted to the county board for ARPA funds is to get us some new SCBA equipment for our firefighters. The current equipment that we have right now is almost 18 years old. It's actually approaching 19 years old that we received then from FEMA Assistance to Firefighters Grant. We've used them frequently for structural fires, vehicle fires, and they're aging. We've had some malfunctions with them that we've had to fix, and they're just becoming more of a headache. So with the funds, ARPA funds that we're trying to request, it would replace those. The company
What
that
was that again? On what was the equipment?
SCBA, that self-contained breathing apparatus.
I believe the mayor had come by before and talked to us about that. Maybe that was you, Tony, that you talked to us.
I haven't spoken with any of you in regards to this, but I think my mayor might have mentioned it whenever they were trying to get the water meter project approved. He would have kind of given you some more about.
Yeah, I think we did from that water meter.
Yes, that's correct.
Also.
How many units are we talking about?
8 units, which would also need 16 total air bottles. So it'd be 1 air bottle per SCBA and then a spare one. So we can exchange them whenever the firefighter runs out of air and we have to go back in to whatever mode of combat that we have to.
That's what you currently have as 8 units.
Yes, sir.
Everything.
Yeah, we'd be replacing everything. The nice thing, the company that I looked at these SCBA's, they're willing to give us some sort of trade-in value on our old ones. It may not be much. They could not give me that approximate value, but that is something that could be taken into consideration as well.
How often do you use these units?
We average about 30 between structure and vehicle fires a year, or hazmat incident that we use the SCBA's.
About 30 of them?
Yeah, which we've seen an increase in calls because we provide mutual aid to the county fire protection district. We cover everything on the west side of the county, west of Greenbrier to Jackson County, county's limits. And unincorporated Williamson County. And then we've also had mutual aid agreements with Hamilton and Ziegler fire departments, as well as DeSoto. So we cover our neighbors pretty well.
I got two questions. One, what's the amount requested?
The amount I've requested is $40,460.
And have you had any grant opportunities out there other than ARPA?
There are other opportunities that we have through the state of Illinois' fire marshal. I put in for other equipment that we currently need right now that need replaced. So that's what I allocated that grant towards. And then Friday, the FEMA grant closes, which is another opportunity that we can pursue funds through.
Do you have, if we funded this but not completely, would you have the extra funds to finish the project?
I'm sure we could allocate the funds elsewhere if not fully funded. It might be a reach, but it could be attempted at least.
Right.
Is this something that, to kind of build on Chairman's question, if we give you no money at all, are you still going to try and replace these?
Yes. Yeah. If this isn't successful, I will reach out to other avenues to try to get
This is
something
a
accomplished.
safety issue and just needs to be done.
Yeah, yes, it's more of a safety issue, absolutely.
That is all the questions that I had. You good? Jim, you good?
I'm good. I'm good.
Legal, we okay?
Yep.
Okay. Well, Tom, I appreciate you coming in. Appreciate it. It's nice to have you.
Thank you.
Now, are you related to the mayor of Cambria?
That's fine.
Okay.
I appreciate it. I'm gonna head back to the jail and finish my shift.
Oh, you walk over here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I got afforded some time to come over here, so.
The only other thing that Bill mentioned was, like we used to tell everybody, we kind of touched on this. Funds that have to be expended by the end of 2026. Where this would be set up, funds would be, a special fund would be set up where the money, if we were whatever, would be transferred into that fund.
Okay.
And then, so that when you would bring the treasurer invoices and they'd be double checked and everything, and then we take it out of the fund. So you don't receive a check
Right.
full. So
I
the
understand.
money would be set aside for you for that purpose. The only other thing, I don't really think it would matter, and we brought this up to everybody else's attention, was that in case this did trigger single audit for your department or anything like that for the city, the funds used to pay for the single audit cannot be utilized from our funds.
Okay.
So, just a FYI.
Okay. All right.
So,
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
this.
Any questions? That's you?
Okay, this is Camille Doris. She's our executive director for the coalition.
That's bottom.
That's at the bottom. Well, why don't we take care of you guys next since you're here?
As Dave said, my name is Camille Doris. I am with the Southern Illinois Coalition for the Homeless. I'm the executive director. Dave is our board president. We're here today to request funding for, to work with individuals and families who are homeless within the Williamson County area. And specifically, the service types would be outreach as well as housing stabilization services. We're requesting $75,000. We're estimating that we would serve 125 individuals or more within a year's time with that funding. And I'd be happy to answer any questions or go through the idea of what the services would be and what that would look like.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and tell us
Okay.
what type
Yeah.
of services and
So, we provide supportive housing. We have for many, many years. We have HUD-funded housing, we own some properties, and we have a home buyer program. Up until, there's always been a shortage of affordable and supportive housing. There's just no doubt about that. But when COVID hit and people began losing their jobs, becoming ill, and then after the eviction moratorium was up, people, had defaulted in some cases and were unable to pay. We were flooded with people coming in for services. We've seen more chronically homeless, more what I call unsheltered homeless than ever before. And part of the reason is some of the shelters were having to cut back on the number of people they could take in. But during this time, we started providing what's called outreach services, going to people where they're at. So for instance, our outreach team would go and call to Heron Hospital. They've called to Marion Hospital. We could go to Heron House of Hope. We could go to Ministerial Alliance and meet with people, to meet them where they're at, where they're comfortable, where they trust us, and try to find out how we can help them. So that was our outreach component. Housing stabilization is something that we do all the time. However, we're requesting additional or rapid rehousing funding to try to help stabilize some of these households that are still having some difficulties after COVID in finding and maintaining stable housing. But our housing stabilization services are just that. We try to help get people set up so that they can get into a place to live, a roof over their head as quickly as possible. And we try to help them with the tools they need to maintain that housing. So we might assist them in locating employment, better employment, something that's going to raise their income. We'll work with them on life skills such as budgeting and household management, bill paying, that kind of things. We try to plug them into community resources. So for instance, if they have a substance abuse issue or mental health issue that's beyond our capabilities, we would also work closely with Centerstone, another agency, Gateway or somewhere that provides the services. Our case managers go into the homes. And so with rapid rehousing, it is a shorter term program. It's not long term for us to be involved. We're involved for 6 months to a year to hopefully try to help that household stabilize. And so our case management services are pretty intense. They go into the homes. That way we can see, actually see how people are managing their households, talk to them about their bills, see if there's anything that they need as far as food pantry assistance, utility assistance, that kind of thing. And then the goal is to help stabilize so that they can maintain and be self-sufficient afterward. Sometimes we have to assist them with things such as applying for Section 8 or, again, going back to school. I mean, obviously, you're not going to be able to afford a 3-bedroom home on, 30 hours a week at McDonald's in Marion or Heron. Trying to encourage them to take that next step too, so that they're not finding themselves back in that cycle of homelessness. So that's in a nutshell what we would be doing, the outreach and housing stabilization services, and that housing stabilization has a rental assistance component as well as case management services.
So some of these funds be going to pay for rent short term, is it short term?
Correct. 6 months or less.
6 months or less? Is any of this, the work that you do, it's Southern Illinois Coalition, I would assume it's outside Williamson County also? About what percentage would you say is actually Williamson County?
Williamson County, about 55%.
55%?
We serve the lower 24 counties, and so predominantly Williamson County, Jackson, Perry, Saline, we do some in Franklin County, Jefferson County, but Williamson County is our biggest population.
The other counties that you serve, were they able to help you with some of the ARPA money?
So we receive, no, unfortunately not ARPA money. Marion, City of Marion was, yes. The City of Marion did help us with ARPA money. We received $20,000 to basically for similar services, but more along the lines of not the rental assistance part of it, just the services.
This, did I read that some of this people with salaries for case managers? Would that be premium pay, back pay? or-
No, it would be going forward, but it would be an allocation of their time. So, since we do cover an area, we would only allocate a portion of their time toward this. And other funding sources, we do receive some City of Carbondale funding, Carbondale Township funding. And we do receive some DHS funding that we can use as backup as well. What happened was during COVID, we received a specific grant for outreach. And additional rapid rehousing. We were told that had to be spent out and be completed by June of 2022, so that's what we did. That's what we worked toward. They did end up reallocating some additional funding in certain spots, but, and so when that ended, we have, it's just been an outcry of people calling daily, needing us to come to the hospital, come to this place, City Hall, go to the shelter, we've got somebody that can't come in. And unfortunately, we can't do that right now because we did not require another person to handle that service.
Is all of your funding, is it all grant based?
Predominantly, yes, we do have some donations that come in, yes.
It's like you had 900,000, is that what your budget is?
Yeah, and that was during COVID, so that has dropped significantly.
Yeah.
Yes, we received a couple of HUD ESG funding in the amount of 256, I believe, total. This last year, and then we did receive some funding to help with emergency lodging during COVID, so that's why you see that budget as it was at the time I wrote this.
Do you think you'll reach 750,000 grant funds this year? Do you do audits? on-
Yes.
What type of success rate do you have in this program, like your outreach and stuff? For the people that you do know?
I'm gonna be honest, I don't necessarily have a number to give you. I can give you some qualitative information. We were shocked when COVID hit. How many people are out there without a permanent place to live, bouncing from couch to couch? I mean, it even shocked us. So we have had a pretty good success of getting out there, building relationships, taking the next step, trying to get people into shelters, taking the next step, trying to get them into their own houses. We have one woman, for instance, who very chronically homeless, had burnt a lot of bridges, I'm just gonna be honest. We took our time with street outreach, met with her, and got her to the next step where she was going into a tiny house, got her to the next step where she was going into one of our permanent supportive housing units. She's been there for over a year paying rent on time, every month, meeting with our case manager, no problem. We have one gentleman who is working with us who came out of incarceration. He actually works for our agency full-time now. He went into our Phoenix project over in Heron, spent a couple of years there. We liked him so much, we hired him part-time. We liked him so much, we hired him full-time. So unfortunately, we had to kick him out of our housing. So he's on his own. So we have quite a bit of success rate. And that's what makes us different than, say, public housing or Section 8. And I'm not, disparaging any of that. That's also needed. But we provide a service component. And so we go in and we help them reduce those barriers to being successful. Right now, we have approximately 85 to 89 individuals, meaning could be children and adults, living in Williamson County in our units.
Okay, who would manage the funds that would be?
That our organization would. I'm the executive director, then we have a fiscal manager as well.
Okay, there may be some requirements by actually we might need. If it's for payroll, I don't know that we've done, have we done that yet, Ashley, for payroll?
We've done premium pay.
Premium pay is not payroll.
Payroll, but we just need like the reports, the payroll report. I mean, for that specific individual with an allocation tied to, so we can show that's what it's for.
We can do
Okay,
that
so
because
you-
we already currently do that.
You'd be willing to work with Ashley because the requirements that we have for ARC are pretty strict. How it's allocated, how it's spent.
Yeah, that's not a problem. We're kind of used to that. We have several grants that people are allocated in different areas, and so we keep that setup already in folks to do that.
So if we gave you the money, if we granted that money, could you show that money being spent in Williamson
Yes.
County?
We keep
So the money
statistics.
that you would spend in Williamson County, that would be replaced and you can spend it elsewhere.
Sorry, say that again.
So imagine that you would spend whatever you had allocated for Marion or for Williamson County, you would spend that elsewhere. Would this be in addition to what you spend?
This would be in addition to, we do not have this service piece any longer now that COVID money has run out, although the need is still there. So this would be specifically for Williamson County, and we would hear that. We keep demographics, everybody does an intake application, so we know where they're coming from, we know where we've placed them. We can provide that information, and on down to, demographics such as race, ethnicity, gender.
How long, the 75,000, how long is that going to last for this program?
It really is a little bit, I was glad to hear that there's a little bit of extra time, because I was under the impression we had to spend that within a year, I'll be honest with you. The rapid rehousing is the only wild card, I guess. Sometimes it takes a little longer to find somebody, a unit that is appropriate for them. And so I would say within a year and a few months, we would have that money spent based on our past projections.
So by mid-24? And like Commissioner Marlowe said earlier, funds have to be expended by 2026, and this may trigger a single audit. If you're not over 750,000, I think that's the limit for a single audit. There may be other things that are required.
Yeah, we have an audit done every year, by independent CPA, and right now I am still able, a few years ago, I was not able to hit that button of less than 750. But now I am because of the reduction.
You good? Jim? Legal?
I think so. Question, just to make sure that it's valid use of it, but I'm assuming you guys will run that through your elements as far as Ashley and Kim and making sure that it's a qualifying.
There's a subsection for underserved housing and also for nonprofits that were limited funding. So actually, we're some of those, like the water ones or whatever else, you actually have to pick a specific section, a subsection.
Right.
Like those, all the other ones actually give you a list of, you can pick up to 3 areas in which they cover. So it's a little more broad-based spectrum, but there's at least 2 of those I know for sure that I've done with other ones, like Heron House of Hope meets kind of the same type of like parameters and needs. So that's the sections and selections.
That was my only.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you, Dave. Okay. Okay. It's Krill Springs. You guys Krill Springs? Well, come on up.
We just stand here.
Sure.
Actually, we used to tell people to stand on the golden X.
On the golden
So that
X.
people can see.
Oh, you're
They have
right.
they have to move that screen or all just a little bit. So people can see.
Especially the adjective pounds. I'll introduce us.
Yes, please.
Okay, I'm Michael Morrow, I'm the mayor. This is Tony Rogers, the superintendent, and this is Melinda Mitchell, she's the city treasurer.
Well, it's nice to meet you all.
Thank you for
Welcome.
having us.
Tell us about your project.
Our project is water meters. Right now, currently, I'm sure like every other small town, our meters are old. broken manual. We are looking into possibly getting the automated meters, which is going to save us a lot of time. Right now, it takes Tony about 6 days a month to get all of our meters done and reread. Our city clerk is also our city collector, and she does the input of our water meters, and it takes her about 2 to 3 days just to sit and do these numbers. We do have your rate sheets. These are our manual sheets. You can see how,
Labor intensive. isn't it?
yes, nasty and dirty they get.
Wet job.
Very wet job. A lot of our meters, he has to dig out with water before he can even get to read them. Some are still foggy and we can't read them. This also causes us to overcharge our patient or our customers sometimes. And also, we lose a lot of water because we try to adjust off these bills for our customers because we honestly can't tell how much they're losing. But we're also losing money because of the water, the loss of water. So these meters would reduce that down to like half a day of work for Tony. And you know, in small towns, we have one full-time person. So he's out reading meters while somebody's got a water break or something else. So we have to pull off and it takes longer. Use this.
How many meters do you have out there?
Approximately 353.
And will you be changing those from your own forces or will you be paying a contract?
And a contractor. And the way we do there, if I did that on my own, they'd be out of date by the time I got them in there.
Yeah, 153, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's an awful lot.
So we were figuring out, he actually drives about 30 miles, which, you know, our town is a little bitty. But he drives some of the country, but he walks the main part of it.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of walking and like I said, it's a lot for our office. Peggy is our city clerk. It's a lot for her to sit and try to enter these in and not get lost in the sheets and
Tell us what type of meters you want. Are they,
They go on.
you want to see this?
yeah, sure, I'd love to. Thank you. I'm going to have to get my glasses on.
So I worked with one of these installations a very long time ago, going from manual to automated. So I'm going to assume here, and then you can correct me, but any of this money includes putting in the software that you're going to use for process and read all that, or will that be additional?
It's included, yes, it's included and it's also support. Honestly, years and years ago, 2 mayors before had put in some of these in a small portion of the town. I actually worked in the office whenever they had it. It was awesome. They had the computer and it would just pick up and I mean automatically just load them. Mayors switched hands and as the other mayor was in, she pulled them out. So, but by then, I mean, that was, 2017, 20 years ago. So they're outdated. They would have been outdated anyway, but it did work good years ago when they did start putting them in.
So where was this at again?
Pearl Springs.
Chris Springs?
Politics.
There's no politics in this one.
Sure.
Sure. The $172,987 that you're asking for, will that cover the whole project? Or will that just buy the water meters?
We thought at first it was covered the project.
I take it doesn't, because I'm reading this proposal, there's no labor on this
Yeah.
proposal.
So we would go down to the next one to include the price of it.
Okay, so that would be the top proposal, $140,000.
There's 3, yes, there's 3 proposals. I think 126.
Or 170?
Was 172,
Yes.
yeah, but they have a total here for 142.11.
Yeah. Yes.
And then that would buy the meters, and so you would use the other 32,000 to pay
Yes.
the installation.
Yes.
Is that enough to do it?
Yes. It's $95 a meter to install.
Okay, so that gets you up to the 170,801.
Close, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So 172 is the whole package.
All right, so that gets it installed and everything.
Yes. Yeah, we would be able to install.
Kind of time frame,
That's not.
the money was for most
Yeah,
today. The time frame you're looking at.
As soon as possible. Yep.
Yes, definitely as soon as possible, but we all know with
Yeah.
COVID how ordering things takes time.
Well,
They didn't
I haven't
seem
got
to
time
think of
yet,
you.
but I'm looking at it. That gets it installed. That's
6 years out or anything.
So we got 3 hours different lineup,
Because we were
the
paying-
people that's controlling it was in and setting all up.
The vendor is giving.
Over $300 for some of
Delays.
these.
Although there's different types of meters.
Yeah, just different types of flow meters.
So which one are they
Um, I'm not sure.
We'd like to go with it.
2250? This one. Thank you.
Yeah, that could be it, yeah.
If you've got a preference right now, is the time to bring it up.
Oh, we'd like to go with the 172, but that doesn't include the
That
install.
doesn't include $40,000 of install.
Right.
Well, 30,000,
30, yeah.
590.
Right.
Right.
At this point, we'll be happy with, I mean, the way that our meters are and how long it takes us to do it and to be able to get everything out, the water bills on time. I mean, it's,
So this you'll drive by with an RF reader, is that what you're doing, then the other one?
It's so nice. Everything's about 10 degrees.
Yeah. Yeah, 142.11 with 30,590 for replacement, and then 2186 for software. So your contractor, we would need to make sure that you keep your waivers intact, so that we see what's been paid for. And on these, actually, we've been reimbursing them for funds spent. Is that how we've been doing that on these?
It depends on, entity. I mean, some of them have the funds available, so we send it in. Others, I'm just sending them the money and then they're sending it, to the contractor. They're sending and getting their lien waiver signed and paid receipts prior to us remitting any additional funds. Like City of Hearst, I've got one right here. We're paying 13,000, I guess, for their meters. And so we're gonna send that to the contractor.
Directly to the contractor?
Once the contractor gets it, they email me. They said they'll fill out the lien waiver and send it in. But like, we wouldn't give Hearst any more money until we received confirmation of that. Otherwise, if they, we'll take Bi County, for example, Bi County's already sent the money, we're reimbursing them, for
Yeah.
their cost. They're still gonna collect lien waivers, but they've already sent out the money, so we know it's covered in one way, shape, or form. So it'll just be however they, I'm assuming you don't have $170,000 later, so, or you probably have, you probably can send half to
I
them.
do,
But it's, we can cut you the check, you can immediately then pay the vendor, then make sure you get that documentation.
And I think we've actually taken contractors that invoices that and paid those.
Yeah, only for a few select.
Only for a few ones, yeah.
I mean, want to put the onus on the entity and not on us to have to track and send things.
oh, well, all my people know I'm a type wad and I'm, so if it comes in, it goes out.
Absolutely. The funds, of course, have to be expended by 2026, so they're completely spent by then. And if this triggers a single audit, then the cost of the audit would be on you guys. The funds can pay for the audit. What else we got?
That's it.
You good? We've done meters all over the county. So we're glad you guys filled something out. We got it to us, because we're right at the very end of this.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Thankful.
Yeah, very thankful.
Okay, well, if there's no further questions, we'll let you know what we decided. Thank you.
Thanks for coming in. Thank you.
Oh, how you doing, huh?
I'm very
Good to
good.
see you.
May I approach?
Come on up to the
Golden eggs.
to the golden eggs.
All right, can I sit down on this
You-
desk here?
You would be
Um,
very-
I don't know how you guys run these things, but as a pastor, I'm just kind of a forward person. I apologize. What I brought to you is kind of the finish of the form that we filled out for you. So that is the budget that we incurred, or the expenses we incurred last year during the Shine. So what we're doing is requesting funds for our summer lunch program. We've been doing this 6 years in the community. This last year, we gave away far more meals than we ever had. We were usually around 1,000 meals during a summer program time we do 2 sites, First United Methodist Church and Zion. We do 2 other park systems. We do Russell Street Tennis Courts, Zion does, and Pyramid Park is where First United Methodist. And we created this program together as a collaboration between our 2 churches. And last year we did 2,500. So
2,500 meals?
yeah, quite an increase.
And that would you say that was COVID related?
It was COVID related, but it was also related to, at that time, we were experiencing first the increase in the gasoline and also food costs. So one of the things that we try to do is that we give out a basic lunch. It's really simple. My wife and I always talk about is that these kids keep coming back, and it's really basic. It's what you might recognize as a Lunchable. They call it lunch makers at Armor. Piece of fruit, some kind of a snack, juice, and then sometimes we might have somebody donate some candy or something like a bag of popcorn, whatever. But we also it's wonderful is that we have had, since we see families every day, our local unions have donated fresh fruit and vegetables, so we become a site for folks to come and get other things. So, dairy products come through us every once in a while, and so we set that out for folks to use. And the thing I like about what we do is that my wife and I and our other volunteers get to put our eyes on these families 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, just to stay connected with them, see how folks are doing. And this is what you all, and what I call the working poor. These are folks that are, what I would say, not destitute, but it's just too much. To do that. When the school lunches end, we start serving immediately. So that next day, we start serving meals. We also get to know them and just to check in how things are going and what things are happening in their lives. We also help communicate other food sites so they know about Boyd Street, Minister Alliance, those kind of things, and making sure they know about Salvation Army food pickups and the mobile market. Just trying to be helpful, I think, is probably the first order of business. As you all know, as folks who represent the government, is that we have a change in food stamps that's about ready to hit. The estimation is a normal, typical nuclear family may get hit by about $1,000 a month difference in what they received during COVID. And since the pandemic has officially been ended by the government, that money now will end, and that'll be a huge hardship on families. Now, we're not fixing everything by a long stretch, but what we're taking away is the stress of dealing with lunches. Usually in the bag, we'll put things that they might have a couple granola bars or something like that. So there's a list a little bit, or some mac and cheese or something, oatmeal. So there's little extra things that might go along the way. But what we're hoping always is that families don't forego paying their rent or their gas or their electricity or their water bill, which becomes more complicated. And I'm part of that ministry as well. So I know what happens when somebody comes to Minister Alliance or Salvation Army and says, it's $1,500 to get our water turned back on. We simply have to say to them, we can't. It's not possible. Even if we put Zion Salvation Army and Minister Alliance together, 450 is the best we can come up with. So it's not about solving all problems, but kids shouldn't suffer ever.
And this is primarily kids that you're feeding?
But we only feed
Only
kids.
feed kids.
Yes. So they have to be in theory, Unit 2 school district. Now, if we notice a parent who's really struggling, we will certainly give them something to eat. We don't check IDs, but we do focus on that we are a replacement meal for what they would normally get at the school. And this started at the beginning for us being more serious. You know, when COVID first started, Zion jumped in and took over for Gumdrops that was serving Unit 2 schools. We became the entity because Gumdrops couldn't do it because of health concerns of the owners. So we jumped in and this became kind of magnified. So we had been doing Shine before, but it was a little program. Now it's a big program. And, two of your smallest churches in town are doing the work of a cathedral. That's our job. So.
That's terrific. Can you, do you have a place to store food?
Yes. So Zion, we have actually a whole room that is set up for the storage of these events, and so does First United Methodist. So the only thing that we have to deal with is that we can't take all of the Lunchables at one time. So it's usually about 4 or 5 deliveries. Usually we'll get, 100 Lunchables at a time. Last year I got 500 at a time because we just couldn't. They were going out the door so fast. And we saw a huge jump. The clientele changed. We had a lot of, you know your town. We have a lot of grandparents that are raising grandchildren because of all kinds of economic, let's say drugs, that kind of stuff. So we have that circumstance, and we had not really seen that before. And they were incredibly grateful because you got 5 grandkids and you're now feeding them.
Yeah.
That's cutting against their budget as well. But they gleefully did it. But we were glad that we could have helped them.
Where do you raise money from?
Well, last year what we did was that we raised money, put a grant through Rotary Club. We were able to get $3,000 from them, and through the Kiwanis International, we were able to get $2,000 through them. So that was $5,000, and that basically paid our food bill. The churches paid about $1,000 a piece to start with for us to bank that money to get ready, but we ended up spending a lot more than that this last year. Before that, to be honest, it wasn't that big of a hardship. Increasing by 1,500 meals became a big deal. And I kept saying to my mission board that, thank God we had the opportunity that Kiwanis came to us and Rotary came to us and said, could we help? We never imagined that the need in our community would increase that much. So, and we're not planning for much different this year because of the change in food stamps, and we're not seeing our gas and food going down. And I said nutrition is important. We make sure that each kid gets a really nice big apple and a really great orange every time they come. Because if we're going to help people, we want to focus on nutrition as well as just filling their stomachs. I think as a passionate person of faith is that I don't want to give them junk. And every time I went and got apples, it was $125. And I buy them from the broker here in town. So.
But it was
2,500 meals, you're running this all summer, approximately how many kids are we talking about?
Something, what we would say is that on a normal day, the sites are different. So at Zion, where we're at Russell Street Tennis Courts, we would do about 75 kids a day. The Methodist Church at the Pyramid Park, maybe 30 to 40 kids each day. And the nice thing is that the kids are there. They show up. When we started this now 6 years ago, it was kind of a picnic program. We had the food, the kids played on the playgrounds, their grandparents or their parents or an aunt or an uncle or the neighborhood oldest kid would bring them over, and it would be this wonderful fellowship. Well, the pandemic changed that. So either kids would come or a grandparent would come or whoever it was would come pick the food up and take it home. But this last year, we started to incrementally return back to that program. So the city gave us a whole bunch of Frisbees to play Frisbee golf at Pyramid Park. And so we started opening it back up again and having a fun fellowship-y experience as well. I think you can imagine you all know me very well. I don't do anything unless it's fun. And we try to make sure that this is really about children and youth engaging in things as opposed to just providing them with a meal. We don't proselytize. We don't push anybody to go to our church. That's not our thing. But we do feel really good that we get to know the kids in town, and now we can say, hey, Jimmy or Alice or whatever it is, that we really know them. And I think there's only positives that can come from that. So.
It looked to me, real quickly with the numbers, you effectively asked for the operating budget for the food.
Right. And that's what we try to stick to if we can.
And unlike me, normally I would say, if you got more money, how does that turn into more food, better food?
Better quality. Yeah. So what happens is that we buy from 3 different sites. We buy from our broker, the apples and oranges, and we go to Sam's to get our things that are little bagged foods and things like that, and then Lunchables. Our goal always is to increase the quality of the food so that we can have fresh vegetables or milk or things like that at home. So as you've seen, we started off with $2,000 extra at the end of 2020. Well, last year ate it all, even with the donations that we had or the grants that we had. So I don't necessarily want to take the 2 churches out of the experience, meaning financially. I think it's a really important part. So that's why we're always requesting, in a sense, you're buying the Lunchables, or when I make a request, that they're buying the Lunchables and then we take care of others. If we didn't have these grants, my church could not have to do this, and we would have had to end early last year. But thank you, to entities that can make that kind of money. So.
John, have you approached other churches in the town?
We have, and it's a high volunteer experience, and some churches just don't do that. We're a working church and a working denomination.
You guys are very active.
Yes, and this is only one of the meal programs that we do. We do a carry-out breakfast every Sunday morning. My wife and Jeff and Margaret Diedrich started Heaven's Kitchen here in the community, and we feed every Thursday night. We also have programs that we just work with folks with our blessing box out in the corner. We're filling that all the time, so just neighborhood kids, neighborhood families can have something to feed. We always fill it on Fridays, so when the junior high kids walk by, that there's something for them that they can take out of it. Food. As a church leader, one of the things I believe is that churches should work within their niche, meaning what they're good at. When I arrived at Zion, they were doing great things, but they were doing this and this and this and this and this. And I'm sure all of you have our chicken and dumplings, we can cook, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So we found great joy in becoming the ministry of food for at least the downtown area. And then when COVID hit and we started doing gumdrops, it was still within that category. And so we've really kind of grown to understand is that this is something that we do, and we strive to do it better and better and better each time. Like most churches, there is no mission budget at Zion, even though we believe in it. So our members, through their activities, they support a lot of the mission programs that they do on their own, because they're really invested in it, and we're pretty lucky. We're one of the churches in town that is growing. Our budget is strong. We had a surplus, not a lot, but we had a surplus this year rather than running in a deficit. Things are going really well for Zion. And I think a lot of it is because we care.
I applaud your dedication.
Thank you.
Trying to
Thank you.
make a difference.
I appreciate that. We just knew this is a place that we can help.
You see this program going on quite some time.
Ever.
Forever.
Yeah, Jesus was 2,000 years ago. We'll try to see if we can match that. I honestly don't know. The passion of the next pastor, whoever that is, when I retire, may be different. But right now, I see this is what they do. and they do it really well. And it's not something I have to drive.
Yeah.
They're excited about doing it themselves.
So it sounds like to me if we gave you money, you'd spend it this year without any problem.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I don't.
Well, don't give me like $1 million. That's ridiculous.
I believe we might get ran out of these chairs if we gave you $1 million. We don't have $1 million, but.
Right, of course, of course. Something, within a reasonable amount of money, we will absolutely make it work to meet the needs of that particular year. So.
I don't think you're gonna rise to the level of the single audit, but there may be some things that
Yeah,
actually may require money from you guys.
we do keep that good records. And as you saw, we know every time we went to Sam's, every time we bought apples, we know every time we did that, we keep track of those amounts. Everybody that we work with, you can look onto the website and I can tell you when I went shopping at Sam's, which is a beautiful thing. I can, Armor, which is out of Harrisburg, will send me at the end of the season what it was, even though they give me a bill every time. And so we have great working relationships with that. The broker for the apples, that's just a pay and go kind of thing. They don't work with anything other than cash, but they have great product and they're sweet little people. I really like them. They're very nice to us. So.
Any more?
No, I'm good.
I'm good too.
I can go on for 22 minutes every Sunday. So if you need more, I'm most grateful to even be asked. So thank you.
I'm glad you're here.
I appreciate it. Thanks for letting me know.
Thanks, John. Appreciate
Thank you.
So you can send that check anywhere you want, okay? Peace, everybody. Thanks a lot.
Have a great day. I think that is it for the ARPA interviews. Next on the agenda is the raffle and poker run license for Motorcycle Riders Memorial of Illinois. Bet you had time to check this out.
I did, don't quite understand it, but it meets the requirements of the county.
I do have a question on this.
Yeah.
On the applications, these are usually required when they have the motorcycle rides, where they end up. And so are they ending up at?
I don't think,
This is the ranch.
I don't think they're-
I don't think they're riding. I think that's what's odd about this one is it's the Motorcycle Riders Memorial.
Yeah.
Is the organization name, but it appears to be they're selling tickets for meat. And the flyer indicates a BB shoot as well, which would tell me that they're gonna have a carnival-esque BB gun target that you shoot at. But then when you looked at the description of the prizes, it only amounts to about $100 worth of prizes, which is $10 in bacon and $10 in, so I'm not really, I don't understand what raffle element there is to it, but
Well, they're selling tickets.
Well,
50-50.
okay, but still, it's where they're gonna have to hold the drawing.
yeah,
Or are they holding the drawing at the ranch?
yeah, at the ranch,
Okay.
Johnson City.
So that's what I put, same as above. That's what we're gonna have. At the ranch.
That's why I said I did review it, it beats it, I just didn't, I
I bet it's gonna be a fun time.
we're seeing a lot of, right now, we're seeing a lot of different raffles that involve meat processing or packaged meat. And I don't know if that's the new, but I've seen 4 or 5 at different schools where that's what they're auctioning off. And it's a chance to win a meat bundle, a quarter of a cow.
Yeah.
A quarter of a cow, a quarter of a cow, a quarter of a cow. So,
Say if you go on to the grocery store, why wouldn't you want to spend $10 to
Yeah.
get
I don't know what that is. I bet they're gonna have fun. Okay, you make a motion to approve it?
If there's no issue with any of this, okay, then I'll make a motion that we approve raffle poker run license application for, yes, Motorcycle Riders Memorial of Illinois.
Yeah, second? I'll second. Roll call, please.
Tim Atkinson.
Yeah.
Jim Marlowe.
Yeah.
Jim Razor.
Yeah.
Next thing on the agenda is the appropriations resolution for treasurer office payroll line item.
So there it is.
Yeah, you
All
know,
right.
you have to stand on the X too.
Yeah. Well, I was have to go by memory. But, so as you know, Rachel retired from my office in October. I hadn't filled that position at the time of the most recent budget. So new practice is that any potential filling of a position, the money is put into contingency. Once the position is filled, then the office holder is supposed to come before you and ask to have that money transferred from contingency into their respective payroll item. Per the statute that's listed there before you. So I've hired somebody, I made sure to make it really easy. I started them on the beginning of the payroll date. We've basically gone through 6 payrolls, so the amount of $22,050 runs from that beginning payroll date through November 30. So that will suffice and meet the requirements of the payroll for her for this remaining year. And then accordingly, next year, whenever I submit my budget, which will be submitted in, as a full-time employee that already existed.
I'm glad you're able to find somebody.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
it
the easiest
took me
thing
a
to
while.
do. Yeah.
I mean, luckily it was slow, but we wanted to make sure we had the right fit for that office. So,
Good, it's going to work out.
yeah, I think so.
And you can help catch me up. You had more than that in contingency.
Well,
Do you still have an opening or?
Well, no. So what happened is obviously Rachel was my assistant treasurer. She was, the highest paid person in my office. We moved the entire amount into contingency, but knowing that this new person that I was bringing in was not going to, be equivalent to that amount. So that money's just sitting there. I don't have access to it, and it's not, given to me in my budget that I can use for something else, for someone else. So at this time, I have a full staff based off of what my staff has been when I got here, and then from the treasurer prior. So,
This is actually walking the walk, and he's talking the talk.
yes. So,
Is that not a pretty good explanation of this? I think it is. Yeah, I think it's a perfect explanation.
so
Do I have
you
any
got a
other
big
questions?
example. So no, I don't have any questions.
Would like a motion, so.
Move to accept resolution 23-02-08-57, resolution to transfer funds, treasurer's budget.
In a second.
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Tim Atkinson,
Yes?
Jim Marlowe,
Yes.
Jim Reiser,
Yeah.
Okay, and then you still have something else to say about the Dodge.
Yeah,
You want that?
if I can use that to reference.
I don't know if Ashley spoken to you about this.
Yes.
Dodge truck.
Yeah, he came in my office.
Yeah, I've spoken to each of you individually just to tell you, if you'll remember back, whenever we talked with Enterprise Fleet Management, we had, there were 12 vehicles that needed to be replaced over, the course of the next 3 years. For the EMA office at the time, we were going to replace the 2 vehicles with a Dodge 1500 series and then a Ford Escape with a Durango. With Brian coming in, Brian assessed the needs of the department that he actually needed a 1500 series truck, that needed a 3/4 ton truck to be able to pull all the mobile emergency units that are at the county's discretion or in their possession. So we tried to get it done, couldn't meet the timeline and everything else. Long story short, if we were to wait, we were going to look at waiting another 15 to 18 months for this truck to be built out. So talking with Chris Miller at Enterprise, the other option was to try to secure a vehicle that was already at a dealership. So this is what is before you. The original quote from Enterprise, whenever we were looking at that with a base model, was going to be about $59,000. This particular model is $69,000. There are obviously some additional features on this truck that were not in the other ones that either we've gotten in the 1500 series or what that 2500 was based out of. But again, when they're coming on a lot to a dealership, they're gonna have some features that are on there. So I know that Brian said that what's on here is more than what he needs, but this meets all the criteria with it being 3/4 ton, short bed, liner, can handle a fifth wheel, all that stuff, towing capacity, and everything else. It's got electronics in there that he can probably use with his, to interface with his computers. And everything else that the other one didn't have originally, so I think it would probably work. But in essence, you're talking $10,000 more, and then on a monthly basis, it's about $185 a month more, based off of that 4-year, lease time that we had talked about. So if you're, calculating that, you're talking $2,200 a year extra. Is basically what we're talking. We had budgeted all that, and obviously we had put a ton in capital improvements, so we have more than enough to meet this. This lease will be paid out of capital improvements. When I emailed Chris this morning, the vehicle's still available. Told him we were going to be meeting, and would have a decision made by this afternoon. So if you do approve it, I'll think this is the quote for you to sign, and then or actually I've got that in my office. I'll bring that up immediately to sign the email to get that started. And then the vehicle will probably be here in between 2 to 3 weeks.
And we still have to stripe it and put the. logo
Yes,
on it.
yeah. But I mean, at least it would be,
A little
you're probably still looking at a month for it to be, road ready for EMA purposes, because that's what almost every vehicle that we've gotten so far with animal control, EMA, assessor, start to finish by putting, either lights or the striping or any kind of radios and all that in there, has taken about 4 weeks to get.
He's going to pull the MOC, that's right.
Yeah, well, the one that's whatever, 17,000 pounds or
Yeah.
something, that's why you needed the 3/4 ton truck to be able to pull that. Right now, he's at Ameren's disposal. I think Ameren offers a vehicle for him to
Just said it a little differently.
Just in the last few days, this thing is going out like 4 or 5 times, the MOC. So now that we're using that asset, we're finding places to use it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and had we known this, before we ordered the trucks, we would have, sure, the 3/4 ton. So I'm in favor of doing this. Value a little bit more contingency. Pressures on this.
There you go, yeah.
Yeah, we'll spend the treasures.
Part of the team.
Part of it.
Okay, so are you making a motion then, Jim?
I'll make the motion that we approve whatever it is, the upgrade for the 3/4 ton truck.
From 59,000 to 69,000.
Do you need the exact amount or does
Yeah, go ahead and say it for the record.
delivered price $69,093.84.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Tim Atkinson.
Yes.
Jim Marlowe.
Yes.
Jim Razor.
I need to say that.
Well, this is just a quote. There's another form that I'll print out to have you sign, and then I can scan it in and email it directly back to Chris.
Okay.
So this is the-
Moving down the agenda, there's no minutes, there's no reports for us to accept. Highway Department is not here. Travis is in Springfield today at engineers meeting with IDOT. And he will be trying to get in some of these in about the $10 million that IDOT is holding for us on the project. No other ordinances, committee board reports, water board. Ashley, you said you had an ARPA payment for us to,
I have four.
okay.
First one is for the city of Hurst. This is for the invoice for their cellular connection network to utility pipe sales for their water meters that were submitted. It's $13,000 even on that one.
13,000 each.
Yes.
Is
This
that a
is-
reimbursement or is that?
This is to buy them. So I'm going to be giving the money to the city of Hurst. City of Hurst is going to be sending the money to utility pipe. They've confirmed that they'll send back the money later. upon receipt.
There's Hurst. What else have you got?
I've got an invoice for Blairsville Water District for engineering services for Horner Shiflin, which I think covered the month of December in the amount of $2,488.25. This should be probably one of the last ones for the
That was my question.
Blairsville Water District.
This one should be close.
It's getting pretty close to being done. Yes.
Do we know what they're gonna end up being under the project?
No, I
At
mean,
one time, it was about 90,000.
I think it's probably still about that same. They did have a $10,000 change order for, I want to say Lakeside Water District or something, to fill something that they hadn't anticipated having to fill, or
So we had to fill the tank.
Yeah,
That was.
yeah, so that was $10,000 that they had. Next one is for Heron House of Hope, $2,026.16. This is for food purchases that run from January 9th through January 27th.
That was for 2000.
$2,026.16.
They're still keeping up with the paperwork. and all.
Yeah, I mean, he's given me all the receipts and everything, and then I did see on the post that I think they've served over 2,000 meals already.
Yeah.
I mean, through the month of January. So, I mean, they're obviously meeting
Yeah.
a large need. This last one is for Franklin Williamson Bi-County Health. These are both reimbursements because they have the funds to be able to pay. This is for a DocuFree Scan Cloud subscription for 68,510 vaccination cards to be uploaded, and then also 68,510 paper vaccination cards. That's $22,152.50, and then reimbursement for their for Phone Max with their voice over IP system, with their kit, wireless headsets, and installation. For them, that's $42,477.94. So the total amount that's going to be submitted to them is $64,630.44.
Should you have anything else for us?
No, only thing I was just going to mention to you is I've updated the budget based off of the approved amended budget, so it's all done. The report that you're going to get for 131, we're still going to have all the original numbers because we didn't pass that until February. So I mean, if you want something with if you want some kind of updated budget report with the new numbers and everything, I could, supply that to you, or you're going to see all that reflected, in the February.
Okay, we'll see.
Yeah.
Unless you guys want it for some reason. Okay. Do you have anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay. You guys have anything else?
I'd like to go back over and discuss the
Our request? Okay. That's fine. If you guys, you're ready, might as well make decisions on
and then also before we leave, let's get back with Brett to discuss, or at least discuss the RFQ that we're getting ready to send out.
Sure.
When those people are going to come, or whenever what are the dates that we set up for? Or have we set the dates yet?
So initially I had some dates set in,
Uh-huh.
based upon when it was potentially gonna go out, so you'll have to amend that.
Okay.
I tried to set it out 2 weeks for them to be able to get stuff together and then set it out a schedule and then to be determined based upon project award. If you guys have a more definitive schedule, I was just kind of shooting from the hip off of.
Did you guys have any changes you wanted to make to that?
No. The only thing I think it'd be best if we wait till we narrow down till we make our final selection on architect, and then bring Kevin in with the drawings that he had, just kind of start brainstorming on that, then, you know.
Yeah, because I think, again, it's up to you guys as to how you want to do it, but most of these, when you do the architect engineer element, you will then compile what that building looks like to send out for an RFP, and then have your contractors bid in on whether it's going to be steel framed or whether it's going to be post frame, or, you know, all of those elements are outlined. Once you select.
Yeah, this is just the
This is just to
choosing.
select the assistance of forming the project.
Right, so like Jim said, this is just select the architect.
Just selecting the architect.
And then we would negotiate with the architect for a rate, whether that be a percentage of the total project cost, a flat rate, et cetera. You can do it in a variety of different ways as far as the scope of work, and then set that out for bid.
Okay.
So, if he got it out, it's ready to go out, right?
Yeah,
So
it's ready to go. It's just a matter of, I don't know where you guys are gonna put it. Are you guys gonna throw it to the southern, to the Marion, that's the question as to how you guys are gonna publish this.
How would we have normally done that? Stephanie, you send those out, don't you?
Yeah, it's just wherever you guys tell me to put it on, the southern or there's another local one here.
So we would be required just to have it locally, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're not required to put it on a national search list.
So we could just put it in,
Southern.
then we could do the southern, we could do Marion Star.
That's Swinford, right?
Stormford,
That's
yeah.
where we
And
put a lot of our
And he covers all the major, he covers Marion, Harry, and Carterville.
As well as putting it on our website.
And
I think the
then,
Marion is the official county paper,
yeah, Marion Daily.
Marion Daily.
Okay, so we'd have to do that then too.
Because believe it or not, Carbondale Times is the official
Really?
paper for, so I don't understand it, but
I
it's,
don't think I've ever had a Carbondale Times.
I don't know if it's still going or not.
So,
I mean, we can throw it into the southern and, and I can check, Tim, you may know as well. There's another service out there that people,
there is a bid service, yeah. And I thought that would be
but be much broader.
That would be
That
probably
would
the time when we're ready to do proposals. Yeah. We're gonna wind up, we might wind up with architects coming from 2 states away. Or something like that.
to look to see.
Right.
Logan recently did an RFQ for their architect. I can check to see what sites they put it on to as well. They got local. I mean, it was.
So you think 2 weeks will be enough on that, right?
Yeah, I mean, my experience is the architects all have their standard packet that
They got it.
that they present, and then it's just narrowing it down.
So if we did 2 weeks, we could actually look at maybe March 1st. We have that date is a typical meeting date for us for architect. We could do it on that day to interview architects. If your guys' schedule is open on that date,
Oh, what was the date here?
that would be March 1st.
It should be a Wednesday.
It'd be a Wednesday. If you guys are available that day, depending on what we get back, we might need to do a 2-session morning and afternoon.
Well, I guess that's the other question is you guys want to review those and then invite in, or?
Yeah.
So would the first be your review?
I see what
and
you're
then
saying.
Make it for the 8th?
We could do the 8th to have a choice.
To do interviews?
Or
Of
do
your
interviews.
top 3 or
I
whatever
think
you guys
that's
do.
Let's do that.
So you guys could do an agenda item on the 1st to narrow the selection to whatever that is, top 3 or 5. Set interviews for the following Wednesday. And then you guys can space those out.
Okay, you guys both open on that day? On the 1st and the 8th? Okay. Okay, Jim, did you have anything else on the RFQ? Okay, before we close out, I'd like to talk about us having another meeting. I think I'd like to have Kim Meyer come in and address the board about auditing and auditing procedures. And we haven't had that conversation with her. And I think it'd be good for us to have that conversation, just a meeting where we talk about what she does for the county as far as auditing, consulting, budget prep, so that we're all on the same page. And along with that, I would like to talk about the potential for bringing in someone in a auditor's type position for the county itself, a person that works for the commissioners, if that's what we decide. Somebody that would come in and ensure that our employee benefits are being tested, make sure that the right amounts are being paid to the right things, that union contracts are being looked at for. I think that would be something that we should probably have a conversation about. So I'd like to do that after our next meeting, which is Tuesday. And I'd really like that to be just a meeting for those two topics, so that we can focus on what needs to be done if we decide something. So what would be a good day for you two guys to do that?
After the 14th,
After the 14th.
I'm available 15, 16, 17.
Well, I actually, I have a meeting on the Wednesday morning, the 15th. I could do Wednesday afternoon.
I board review test on the 15th.
Oh, that's right, Jen. Yeah. So,
71.
we'll be celebrating. He'll be celebrating on the 16th.
71.
And I can't do the 17th. Yeah. So I can't do the 17th. The 20th is President's Day, so we won't be working that day. So maybe the 21st, that would be Tuesday, the 21st. Okay,
I've got, there's a Cleo meeting that would bother you. So,
that would be at lunch.
yeah, so I just a
Right, that would be at lunch. So I think that meeting's from 12, so we could do morning, and if we need to, we can come back in the afternoon.
Started early.
Yeah, so we'll have Kim on that day coming in
on the 21st.
on the 21st. I will check with her to make sure. And we'll see if we can. You guys do it at 9 o'clock that morning? Ashley, are you available that day? I'd like you to be a part of that.
I'm available more, right, 1 o'clock.
Okay, so noted.
My meeting.
Oh, okay, so for what? You have to have a knee replaced?
No, I mean, see if I got tear it.
Oh, no, all
So,
right.
hopefully I don't have to have anything in place.
Yeah, I've got to have a total, Jim has to have a partial. I don't know what.
My knees are good.
Mr. Razor is good on knees right now.
Put me in, coach. My knees are good.
Okay, guys, have you got anything else for today?
We can review these today.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Tim's in a hurry. If he's-
I'm in a hurry. I've got enough time. I've got something I've got to go do.
Vacuum or something?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to take long. Susan always has a list of stuff we need to do. All right, you guys want to start off with Hearst?
I'll tell you what, let's start off with the easy one first. Let's get it out.
Okay.
And I will say this, I'm in favor of supporting the Scion launch program to the tune of $7,500.
I would like to adjust it.
Sure.
I knew you were going to go there. Okay.
I've thought about this a couple of different ways. I would like to put just a minor stipulation on that I don't think they would have a problem with if they continue to do their own fundraising. But I would like to see us do the 7,500 for the next 2 years.
So, you heard me asking a question about whether or not they can store food. So,
I thought about a refrigeration unit as well, but it didn't sound like, and when I asked him if we gave him more money, he's just gonna get better food.
I agree with Jim completely, okay?
You're gonna have steaks instead of Lunchables.
Yeah.
Well, I asked him how long he was planning on doing this. And I think that was a fair question. I think Jim and I were on the same page there.
I would say this, I'm in agreement, but here's the catch. Okay. We didn't do it for the parent house,
We gave Heron Household
What they-
$75,000.
what they asked. Okay, that's true. Okay, I'm just saying, plain devil's advocate.
I think that's a fair point, and I'm not the kind of person
Yeah.
that ever
So,
gives more than they've asked
All
for.
I'm saying is, if the board's good with that, then I'm good.
So John could have come in here and asked us for 15,000. And I think we would have said, sure, this is an important project.
So.
I think, because he did bring up, and it's ironic, I was just researching it this morning, that the SNAP benefits are about to get broken.
Okay.
And the impact is expected to be
Okay.
large. And I just think it's a way for us to be proactive and help. That's just my pitch.
Okay.
You're
You're good with it?
Susan hadn't been a teacher for all these years. We saw, she brought it home, we saw all these kids that we did. There's, I'm thinking that we can't help everybody, but that would be a good project at any time, with or without funds.
So he's good with it, you're good with
I'm
it?
good with it.
I'm good with it. Well, then we'll just make it 15.
We'll make it for 15,
Well,
for 2 years.
yeah.
Okay.
A $7,500 this year, next year, we will give him $7,500. If he still is in business next year. That good?
That'd be good. Ashley, can we set it up that way?
Yeah, I mean, just put it in your agreement, it's $7,500 per year.
Okay.
I mean, and that way, that's the cap.
Yeah.
And then I'll just,
And that's what I'm getting.
whenever I did the report for the obligation, I put 15,000. I mean, if they use 3,000 this year, if he says he's able to, whatever, if he raises money and he only needs $3,000 of it this year, or figured out something else for the difference or whatever. So,
Actually, if he needed to buy a piece of equipment, I believe that would fit, but what's your opinion on that?
yeah, I mean, there's a category, wish I could find a way to print out those, like subcategories. I think there's a way, but, there's a category either regarding food insecurity or regarding low income, benefiting low income, individuals, or if they're 501c3, I mean, anything that you can, I mean, that's so broad, any way you can tie that they've had some kind of deficiency in fundraising or the inability to access funds, you can throw that in. So, or they're trying to find ways for you to be able to give that money away. So, I mean, I can easily put 2 or 3 categories that would suffice for those funds.
As House of Hope said too, just like John said, they saw an increase because of COVID. An increase in meals, increase in services needed.
It's true. Okay.
Okay. So
And
that may
technically,
be,
I mean, okay, I take that. You can put $7,500, but you're gonna put 15,000, because if he's able, say if, Rotary and the Kiwanis give him the same amount of money. Well, now that money lasts him the next 3 years or 4 years.
That's my hope.
And that's the same way, I mean, I also hope you gave them that, I mean, at the rate that, John is going, or John and Steve is going with House Hope, I mean, we're paying 2,000 to 4,000, a month. I mean, that's gonna sustain it for maybe 2.5, maybe even 3 years.
Yeah.
The
So,
only other caveat
that's-
to that would be if they didn't utilize that by the end of 26 or whatever, or even actually they get, like what you're saying, extra funding where they won't need that.
Mhm. That just goes back
We
to
can't,
us.
yeah,
Right, it
but
just
we can't allocate it.
After
it's past-
24.
After 24.
Yeah, so I
We
mean,
can't
I guess,
allocate it.
but you're already talking about going and reassessing these. A lot of these, to make sure that if they haven't, if all of a sudden John, Zion gets a windfall of money
Yeah,
and they don't see it and they say, well, we only really need $5,000 of this because we're getting all these other partners involved. Well, then reallocate that and say, we're gonna reallocate that $10,000, to somebody else, at the end of 24. But maybe by you guys committing that amount, now they can go and reach out to others and say, you can give us 500 here, 500, next thing you know, you got, 5, 6, 7, 12 partners. that
we'll just
are-
have to have him when he comes in to sign the agreement and relay this information to him.
And I'll be open with my hope. My hope was that we could use this to fund them for 2 years, but they continue to fundraise.
Right.
They spend the ARPA money first, and that's just accounting. Anything else they get, they're building so that this just gets prolonged.
Sure.
So that was my hope.
Yeah,
In saying, let's go 2 years and
Sure.
just cover it.
okay, that's fine. So we'll discuss that with him whenever we have him come.
So 75 for 23, 75 for 24.
Yep.
I'm good with that. All right, then let's talk about Hearst and the fire department. I know this one came in late, but it had made my short list of things to fund. We put it on the back burner because we did get first money for the water meters. What's your thoughts, guys? You for this, you against it?
This will qualify, by you,
What is
Public
it?
safety.
I came in like.
This is the self-contained breathing apparatuses for
firefighters.
first firefighters.
Yes.
It's public safety.
Yeah.
It should
I
fall
mean,
squarely
it
inside.
falls under the same category as like the body scanner,
Yeah.
at the jail. I mean, it keeps, everything, self-contained, keeps you, from ingesting germs or whatever else and, there's an easy category.
The fact also that they're supporting Williamson County Fire Protection District. I mean, this is a yes for me. I don't even need to discuss.
All right, so let's fund them for $40,460. All right, let's do Crystal Springs. We've done water meters all over this county. Looking at their pricing. I believe they're getting a good deal from what we paid before.
And based on us helping these water districts all over, and for the very same reason, to me, this is a no-brainer as well, with a total of 172. I think you look at the total number of people that they're going to be reaching and leaders and all, make everything a little easier. 253. I think it's money well spent. Based on, we did the same thing for these other water departments.
And I believe we've touched every single, well, not just water department, but every municipality in the county. And I think this is a fairly clear, Jim, you have a conversation on this?
No, I just think every other water meter request is from Matt, and I just think this is a yes.
All right, we'll go on about our business at 172.
172,987.
72. I was looking for it.
I think it's that one for 300.
172,987. All right, we're gonna be 4 out of 4 today.
This is the one that-
Outreach, home
I believe
stabilization
this
services.
require the most attention. I think the biggest concern that I had with this organization, I think it do wonderful work. But we have to remember that this is Williamson County ARPA money. They estimate that 55% of the individuals they help out are in Williamson County. The request is 75,000, and I wasn't quite sure if that 75 reflected that 55% or if that was total of that money be going to other counties, individuals for other counties. Did you come away with anything better understanding on that?
No, if I understood, because I asked her about that.
Yeah.
And if I understood her correctly, they would use this 75,000 completely in Williamson County. The funds that they had budgeted for Williamson County would continue to be spent in Williamson County. Is that the way you understood?
That is the way I understood it.
So if they're gonna leave all 75,000 in Williamson County. I wish we weren't paying for labor.
Or admin fees?
More than half, and that's my only concern. This is a group that needs help. They need financial help, I understand that, but of the 75,000, by my numbers, we're about 37,000 going to salary, office expenses, and travel.
Yeah.
Leaving 35,000, and then by their numbers, that 35,000 affecting 12 households.
I have no issue with that. I'm on the same page.
I don't know how to handle that issue. I think it's an issue, because I don't, this is a group that needs money.
They seem to be, and maybe because of the type of services they have, maybe that's why they seem to be employee heavy, administrative heavy.
I would honestly like to spend some time researching this a little more before I had to say yes or no. And not saying,
input on this because I'm actually on.
please,
So it's very heavy, touch interaction with individuals. Because you're literally holding them by the hand. So having that staff member is imperative to be able to accomplish the goal of what they're trying to do. And I have no doubt, that Camille and Jennifer would be able to, they would allocate it to the penny, plus the fact, I'd be on them. So, but again, I'm just closing all this just because, again, I'm on the board. Obviously, it's your decision, but the part about paying the rents or whatever is a very small facets of the overall function of that organization. So, when they're, I know it sounds like, well, you're paying for a person, but you can't accomplish the goal without having that person like in the position. Literally, they cut the position because the funding wasn't available. And there's several DHS grants in the state of Illinois where they're grossly deficient on supplying funds. Up in the state, there was someone left and literally grants fell through the cracks, and they've just received some of the money that was due last year, through a hardship waiver, just because the state's still trying to figure out what's going on. And so they just send all these organizations money just to say, here's enough to get you by, and we'll figure this, we're still trying to figure this out. So, that's the reason for the person, is that it's such a heavy, touch.
Counseling services.
Yes, because, literally, these people, have no clue how to manage a dollar, let alone.
Well, that's why I asked what the success rate was.
But I can tell you, there's a gentleman we have a tenant that's on the board, and, listening to his story where he was basically working on someone's farm and was helping that and getting, in turn, receiving housing for doing work and everything else, and the person passing them, basically having nowhere to go, and then putting them in there, and then him, basically doing work and getting set up, and then now getting, like he was a veteran, getting benefits. They helped them, guide them through all that. So now, where he's a productive, member of this Phoenix apartment complex, and helps out and does everything else and is a voice for them. But I mean, there are success stories, but I mean, literally, it takes a long time and you're not herding cattle to be able to push them all through. No, I mean, you basically pick one up and nurture them through and get them from A all the way to Z. So that's why they're, like I said, it's a high touch, low volume process. And that's where you end up with having to have, the staff. And then that's why you have a low number of people served, because you have to work them through. And some of them don't work. Some of them, I mean, there are people that have, passed away or that they've, from addiction or whatever else, or overdoses. So, I mean, obviously there's your successes, but yeah, you get your failures there too. But I mean, the reason why that either person is to be able to actually implement the outreach and the process, because otherwise the money doesn't do any good if you don't have the person to be able to come in and actually do the work and get you, to that.
So let me ask this. Maybe I don't mean this to be outlined or anything like that. Okay, how is that different than what the say the Lighthouse Shelter does?
Well, I think the Lighthouse Shelter only provides temporary housing, I mean, for people, and then they're, and that's it. I mean, these actually, Coalition supplies temporary housing, but it's to transition them to be productive members of society. I mean, the Lighthouse Shelter is providing people that are down on their luck, but they get them in, and they hope to just, I mean, it's on their own. They don't provide counseling services that I'm aware of. They're just providing a bed and a meal, for a family that's displaced. I mean, this is a more of a counseling where you're trying to take that person or that individual the family that's displaced and then get them to a point where they are fully self-sufficient on their own.
So this is step two.
This is, yeah.
I mean,
That's what, I mean, technically it's more, we've had a long conversation about changing like the name and the mission statement and everything else, because it's more, look at it as a transition. Like you're transitional, you're trying to help that person transition from that, down on their luck current situation to being someone that is, fully self-sufficient.
So instead of giving a man a fish, you're trying to teach him how to fish.
Yes.
Basically.
So, or you could say, okay, maybe you could say it's like Caring Counseling Ministries and the Lighthouse Shelter mashed together. So, you've got someone, you're trying to counsel them to be able to be, productive members of society, but you're also providing them the housing component to be able to start off, from that. But the goal is never, really to have them stay there for an extended period of time. You're trying to get them in, get them established, with making sure that they're at least clean and everything else, and then get them a job, help them with transportation or whatever else, and finding out what they can do. And then once they get to that point, then it's time to let the bird, leave the nest.
thank you.
Are they living in facilities owned by the coalition?
Yes.
So is that Phoenix? You said
The Phoenix is one.
And that's
I mean,
inherent?
That's
And
inherent.
they have two inherent? Do they have more than that?
There's two, I think, inherent. Then there's houses as well.
But they're owned by the coalition?
Some of them are, some of them, there are rental agreements for subsidized rent, again, with the landowners, to try to get them, knowing that they're going to try to be there for a short period of time, and then move on, and then get the next, family or individual in there, to be able to start that process. But literally, everyone, you almost need like an individual or you got, the individuals only have 5 or 6, 7 families that they're dealing with. Because it's like a teacher. It's like you can't have we're not talking about the assembly hall classroom style, which you can say, here's all the points that you need to do. Here's 1, 2, 3 steps to success. Here you go. You got to literally walk us through and check in with them and everything else to follow up.
Okay, so what's the move here?
Well, Jim, do you still want more time to do a little more research on this, or are you good to make a move now?
You guys tell me what you want to do.
I don't have a problem giving them some, I just don't know if the full 75, that's where I'm at. So maybe,
Let's table this.
let's table it for just a little bit, we'll get back to it.
Well, I mean, you can call Camille back in and walk her.
And we may, well, that's what
You know, exactly what you want to do.
I want everybody to be comfortable with the decision that we're gonna
How
make. So-
persuasive would it be to go see part of the process? Rather than bringing them here?
I would say pretty persuasive, especially if you like talk to, you know, like I said, our tenant board member. He told you his story.
Yep.
I mean, it's pretty moving.
Okay.
You know, I mean, now the guy, I mean, he talks about, I mean, his gratefulness of having an oven and being able to bake, and he bakes the whole entire complex, you know, cupcakes or muffins or whatever. I mean, it's just a really good, you know,
Yep.
uplifting story. But I mean, that's, you know, that's just one, you know, of many that they've had. Yeah.
I would like a little bit of time.
Okay, no problem.
I'm more likely to go to a yes if I get a little more time.
No, sure.
How's that? Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna give you the.
I think- I
Maybe
think
it's worth a trip.
I would be safe to say we're at least all interested, but it's just the amount, that's what,
Yeah, and I understand the fact of, you know, it's a broad based.
yeah.
It's all, it's, you know, we're talking
Well,
17 counties and it's like we're 1%.
You know, with the exception of the 20,000 that we gave to Hearing Ministries, everything that we've done, we bought something.
Right.
You know, it seems like we paid for something.
Yeah.
And that's, I think that maybe is a little bit different part of it. At least it is for me. The wages is. I think it's definitely, it's not off the table. We need a little bit more time. Okay. Anything else? If I missed anything, I'm bound to miss something.
Real quickly, while ARPA and Hearst came up again, Mayor came in the other day, and they are desperately looking for a utility truck. They put in a late application for a utility truck. By my numbers, just in my head, if we were at 300,000 left, we just allocated the 300,000.
All 300's gone.
But I would ask the board to listen to all the other officers. And I know with what we're doing with the lease, most of those vehicles are traded in. But if we end up with a vehicle around here that may work for them for utility, let's make a connection.
Sure.
At least for a conversation.
I think right now we're at 228, 447 without, the
So that's
75.
75, right?
So that would take us up to
75 takes us to 3.
right at 3. Now, I do think as we discussed, we might find out we have some extra money left over.
There was
So,
some
that's
interesting
good.
come on that.
So we maybe continue on looking.
Plus it was 200 grand that came in late, and I don't think we,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
the
talk
travel-
about
yeah, the travel. It's just,
yeah, which we haven't even talked about. And I don't, is the same requirement on that to be spent by 2020, yeah.
yeah, but
Appropriate amount of
there's like
2024.
literally no requirements of what.
Yeah,
So the motorcycle fund.
Need or uses as.
Did you get the first year and the second year, or just? you got both of them?
it's 204,000.
Now, basically, they got the money, they got the first round in November or December, and literally the next round showed up in the quote next month of the year in
Yeah.
January. So we have the full.
Well, they're calling places that haven't submitted to make them, to make them
submit.
aware of it.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's how much they're just desperately trying to give.
Yeah.
Well, when you have $1 trillion to give away, it's not easy to do.
So, but yeah, it's a trust.
So we got about 300 extra on that.
That's 212 or something.
Well, and we
And
have,
then we're earning interest on that.
Interest.
I mean,
we have interest income, which was, what, 100 grand or so, something like that.
So far,
Yeah.
we're averaging about 30 grand.
And I think we're gonna see, we're not gonna see all the money being spent at White Ashton. I think that's, we may,
And
They
then
have that
Blair's
number.
should be below.
and there's gonna be 80 or 90,000 left over at the water tower, maybe 70. So there's still gonna be funds out there.
Be patient, the need will arise.
Oh, there's no doubt. We could give that money away today.
Well, I think, I'm not gonna say, the circuit clerk made a comment about maybe not any of that money that you requested. And they might find another need for it later, but.
Well, but the need, the 350,000 reallocated to him, I don't think it's gonna be spent.
Right, so that's what I'm saying.
So there is that, right?
Potential amount.
Right.
What, some.
So Jim's desire for motorcycles is still alive. So,
And being the new guy, and I need a gap filled in, there's some money not allocated, but earmarked.
We have that $1 million that we earmarked for county use. Part of that was to be used for squad cars. I forgot how many squads, we said 4.
that was, 450, I think, or 60.
And so it was out of that $1 million, that would have been what about, I forgot how much, how many 100,000 is that? But,
That was-
400 some odd.
Wasn't that six?
It was
I mean,
650
Six,
was.
I thought it was 6 squad cars, like 80 or 85 grand a piece.
I thought it was
Full up to.
Six.
Because the four was in the capital portion of the budget.
And then,
So you're talking between 450 and 500,
Right,
depending on what it.
okay, all right, that's right, I think that's right. So we had,
Then you have another $500,000.
we got at least another $500,000 there. That can be used later on for election
and
equipment.
I think we were talking about, taking that in as lost income,
So
which we find that
By
was.
my math, there's still another 2 million. Is it earmarked for something?
No,
out of that $1 million line,
No.
no,
I
there was
had,
$1 million that was given to the meat packing facility.
okay, there's another million. I have allocations at 10,618,994. We have 15, didn't we? 12.
But yeah, 12.9 is what you
Okay,
got.
well, with interest, we're probably close to 13. So $1 million for cars plus $1 million for Saline River.
So one up top of that.
yeah, we had 2 million left to appropriate.
Okay.
Yeah. And, out of that 2 million was at 191 for Pike County, 171 for 175 for Cambria, 185 for Hearst, 200 grand for the bistro, and 17.5 for PDC bringing pay.
So that left us $1,297,096 left. You take out that $1 million, that was for county use, squads, equipment. And then that left us with the 297,000. I think we're a hair over that, right at 300. But,
Yeah, this is definitely very sloppy.
Well, I put a little bit of time in this. My point is, I think we may have a little more money.
Yeah.
And again, I think the chairman and I agree on this. Let's be patient with it.
Sure.
While it's growing great interest, and again, I'm concerned with something that may come up later this year. We've still got through 24 to allocate, is that correct? So we've got 22 months yet that we can
Correct.
use this money. But by my math, I think we may have a little bit.
Yeah.
That's a good.
and we might have even more as time goes on.
I mean,
Some of these projects are completed.
Some of these projects had contingency built into it. So we may see 5 to 10% come back on those awards. So
We've got more good to do.
we have, right.
So do we have every participation agreement for everybody that's been awarded money?
Yeah, there's someone.
Okay. I mean.
Everybody signed it.
For Slate River, you have one?
No,
No, that's.
That's okay, that's okay. Because I'm like, I don't remember, because I've got a spreadsheet of all of the agreements that I've gotten with Stephanie, and that wasn't included.
My county they've signed theirs.
So I have my counties, because I mean,
Cambria
we've already
signed
done that.
theirs. Those are the last ones that we've done.
Okay, okay.
Saline River.
I have all of
we get
those.
back with them and set up another meeting with them.
Okay, okay.
Discuss.
So that money is going to be spent maybe March or maybe April, so they need to.
No, that's fine. I was just, I mean, I have a spreadsheet that I'm keeping in my office for all the ones that have actually signed participation agreements. So I thought I had all of them, but that was not one.
Oh, that's one that you don't probably have.
That haven't filed with you. Because I'm not recording them until we actually disperse that first dollar, because it's a pain to write obligated and then start typing all that kind of stuff if it never comes to fruition. So for any of these entities.
Okay, anybody have anything else?
Second.
Roll call.
Kevin Atkinson,
Yes.
Jim Marlowe,
Yes.
Jim Reese.
It's a good meeting, guys. Let's see what's going.
Jim, this is the lawsuit on gun suppression.
Are you
Like, we filed.
No, we need.
Because I need to go talk